Okay, ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, and fishing accomplices, good morning and welcome back to Fishin. So it is August 22nd, 2025, and this is probably going to be my first legitimate fishing excursion in quite some time. Yeah, I kind of hinted on it in the last video where I was testing the motor, but this hiatus I took was mostly planned. In case you're wondering, my wife and I just welcomed a new baby into our life, my daughter, about a month ago today, actually. So that ate up a lot of my time for good reason. Been very exhausted, a lot of very minimal slept nights, which generally is par for the course fishing, but it's even more so now. This is the second time around too with two kids, so my other daughter is 3 years old, so there's never a dull moment at home. But today I am on the water. I've got about a week and a half left before my summer break ends, and I'm really going to try and end on a strong note this season. But that aside, today we are on the South Shore, and I'm going to really try and put this motor to the test. I brought some crabs with me, and we are going to try a little bit for fluke, just to see if they're around, which I'm not terribly optimistic. There could and should be a few around. But really what I want to do is drop some crabs on some isolated structure, throw the spot lock in, and see if we can hook up with some good action. Mainly Porgies is the main target, but there's certainly a possibility triggerfish could be around too, and pretty much everything eats crabs. But I'm trying to avoid the crowds just because I want to, get some good peace of mind and be able to test this spot lock motor without having to worry about too many people around me. So I'm going to go to one spot where I feel like there could be some fluke during this particular tide, and depending on how that goes, we might just jump right into crabs for the rest of the day. So that is what I got planned for you, and as always, thank you for staying tuned, because it is time to get some fishing accomplished. Okay, so we are on it right now. I've got the trolling motor going behind me, got the remote right here. We're going about 3 knots on mid setting, 10 out of 20. I'm trying to go sparingly today because this is going to be a much longer trek. I don't want to burn it out, and I'm probably going to be fighting tide on the way back, because right now it's basically the beginning of outgoing. I'm going to let the tide carry me to a couple spots I want to check out. And again, using spot lock, that's going to burn some energy too. So I haven't gotten a good gauge of, what this thing can do in terms of, burning through the battery, but I should be able to make it through most of the day. So we're going to start looking for fluke. And then after that, we're going to probably just jump right into crab fishing. And I took painstaking measures to try and make sure these crabs didn't die after my last session trying something like this. So let's see what we can do. We got 72-ish degree water temps, surface temps. I think it's cooled down because of all the cooler air we've had. It could be an interesting day. I don't know if this thermometer is right, thermostat, whatever, just because of it's been kind of dormant for a while. But outgoing tide, north winds, right now probably 8 or 9, but it's supposed to drop down, so certainly could be friendly for some fishing. All right. Been very cool lately. We've had some north winds, I think, cooling things down after all the summer heat we've had. So this could be interesting for the fishing, to say the least. But we're going to start things off with a jerk shad, because I expect there to be a lot of interference fish down there. Porgies, pufferfish, snappers, baby sea bass, whatever. And I don't want to, these tend to hold up the best of all the various gulp that I fish. So let's work this and see if we can get on some fish. Yeah, so I gave the fluke bite maybe a good 30 to 45 minutes. I worked a number of different depths and contours and really just couldn't find any action. There were some good schools of peanut bunker that I tried to work, and I maybe had like one bite, but there wasn't really too much going on. Perhaps if I gave it some more time, I would have found something, but one thing to keep in the back of my mind and to know was we had some, hurricane class winds a day or two before this. And as they always say, when you get a big storm, it tends to shut down the fluke bite, at least for a day or two. So I decided to give up on this and go all in with jigging crabs. All right, well, we're definitely getting more tide and current and wind than we did on the test session. This is like hurricane tide right now, outgoing, so this is going to be a real test to see how well this spot lock works. We will be a little bit blocked, but even still, there's going to be a lot of current, so this will be a real gauge of if this thing can hold in some, you know, some rough stuff. All right, we're going to get close. I turned the motor off, and we're just going to go right into lock mode. I know technically it could tide down, but I prefer not to with this tide and a lot of other things. So let's go right here. Yeah, so this is a stern mounted trolling motor with the anchor lock. So I pressed the button, and one thing to note is the anchor lock applies to the motor, not the boat. So the motor is going to try and find or hold the spot that it detected me at when I first hit that button. It's trying to hold me. About to fight a lot more current. Yeah, and once it detects that, the boat will the motor will basically do whatever it can to hold and find that position. It'll even tell you on the remote how far it is or how far you are, the motor is, from that initial anchor lock point. And you might drift off it for a moment, but then the motor will immediately start working to put you right back to where it was. So once it finally does hit that point, you'll notice that I'm looking in a completely different direction because it's pushing the boat in the way that makes sense for it. But the motor is basically right where it was when I hit that lock button. We're locked. Let's get our crabs out and see what we can do. Not necessarily ideal positioning. I'd probably be better off facing the other side. Probably gonna need a ton of weight to hold here, but we'll see what we can do. Like, this is obscenely strong current, so if anything, this is a real good like test. It's not terribly deep, so let's see if we can get down and hold with 16. Not even close. Getting bit though. Got a fish. Big porgy. I think it's a porgy. Might be a tog. Big porgy. Good. My goodness. I was like, that's got to be a tog, but with this current, my goodness, that's a big porgy. Whew. What a slab. You didn't waste any time. Keep a few of these. He's about 15. All right, that's going to be our size limit for today, 15 inches. Yeah, so we're just fishing with shore crabs right now, nothing really to it. And we're right on some very heavy structure. And we're holding, you know, I mean, we're a little bit blocked from the current. If we want to get really adventurous, we can try the other side and see what happens, but see what we can do. It's the one thing about a stern mount for this motor is, you know, we're going to want to face away from the current or down current. Big porgies, man. That's a tog. Not what we want. But not, we knew we'd encounter some of those. See what happens if we don't break them. Keep our hands a lot cleaner. Yeah, they don't care. big porgy. Nope, tog. Fooled me. Alright, back down. Tog. No, porgy, big porgy. I'll let that one go. He's big, but we know they can get a lot bigger. Nothing wrong with that fish. Oh, it's a big fish. If it's a porgy, it's a monster. It is. Wow, look at that porgy. Gosh. Mega scup, bro. Practically break the net out on these fish. My gosh. That's at least 16 inches. My goodness. Just a hair, 15 and a half. So there's still room to grow, room for improvement. So I redeployed the anchor because I don't want my motor, I don't want the rudder, I don't want the propeller scraping up against the structure. And now we're more in the current, but again, I'm trying to get it so I'm just like dropping right next to this and not having to worry about crashing into this structure. And it takes a second for it to get used to it, but once it finds its spot, it seems like it's pretty smooth. So this seems a little more confident to me. I don't have to worry about this as much. Just go a tiny bit closer, maybe. No, that's too close. There it is, right there. That's where we want to be. So yeah, you can change it on the fly a little bit, which is cool. Because I was wondering about that the other day, but you know, this gives you a very visual gauge of how much we can hold on this. I mean, every time we drift off our waypoint, it tries to put us back on top of it. So, you know, this is extremely strong current. This is not the normal, and I'm typically not going to want to fish this kind of stuff, but it's where we are today, so food for thought. All right, let's see how we do now. Throw some smaller crabs on there. It's a nice fish. Ah, that was a porgy, no doubt. Feel those jerky head shakes. Big porgy. Big porgy. This current makes this like a completely different game. Out of the way. That one's nice, but we'll throw him back. He's like 13-ish, maybe 14. 14 and change. Alright, current's dying down a little bit, so I'm gonna reposition the boat, see how this works a little deeper, see if we get access to any other fish. There we go. It's nice that you can kind of reposition the spot lock on the fly. something nice. That's something nice. Probably tog. No, it's a big porgy. Big porgy. That's the size we want to see. Nice scup. Still maybe 15. Let's take a look. 14 and a half. I know it might seem ridiculous that we're throwing these fish back, but we know they can get a lot bigger. All right, still plenty of action. We got, you know, a nice spot lock right now, so I think it's a better time than ever to jump back in our beverage review of the day. It's called Rockaway Soda, suiting as to where we are right now. Lemon lemongrass. Yeah, it's definitely not a seltzer, but I wouldn't call it like a regular soda. Not much sugar. Got some flavor, but not too much. Definitely lemony, but not pungent. Tasty, refreshing. On a hot day like today, relatively hot considering how cool it's been. But I give that, you know, easy 8.5. And I'm hoping we could bring this fishing up to 9 if we keep this action going. So keep dropping these crabs and hopefully we'll get something nice. Man, this anchor lock is pretty nice, I'm not gonna lie. Now that I'm getting kind of accustomed to it, it's like you can kind of just set it very far away and just kind of inch your way towards it. You know, it's better to kind of undershoot it. That way you don't crash into anything or overshoot it. Currents died down, but the bites kind of died down a little bit too, so it's a give and take. There we go. That's a big porgy, probably. Yeah, it's a big porgy. Big porgy. Is he 15 though? That is the question. I'll take him. He's 14 3/4. They don't have to be like, I don't know, like 11 inches or something like that. Maybe 12. I don't know. I don't really keep them unless they're like much over like this. Alright, I'm probably not going to keep too many more unless they're just absolute giants, you know, 15 and a half plus. If we get something different, we might consider keeping it too, but it depends on what it is. Obviously no tog, but if we somehow got into a triggerfish, I would definitely not say no to that. Pretty much everything eats crabs, so. So one thing you might be thinking as you watch this is, you know, why don't you just link up to the structure externally, like tie down to it? I know that's an option. More than anything, this is again like a test day, so having this external structure there and present, it makes it very clear what this spot lock or anchor lock is capable of, like how close I can get to it, how well I'm sticking to it, etc. Obviously you can do the same thing with submerged structure, but being able to see this and watching myself kind of just stay static right next to it gives me a very firm understanding of, you know, the capability of this particular technology. So that's kind of what I was going for today, as it's only the second time I've really used this.
Oh man, it's a big fish. That must be a tog.
Oh, it's a big porgy. I did loosen the drag a little bit. Try not to rip the hook out of these fish's mouths. Jeez, that's a big one. My goodness. Whew. It's a 16 incher, well, 15 and a half. All right, 16 inches is the new size limit. That one's squeaks by. All right, at this point, I don't really need any more Porgies. 4 would be pretty good, I think. But certainly if we got some that were like over 16, I would consider it. But at this point, you know, unless they're absolute hump heads, 16 plus, we're not keeping them unless they're gonna die anyways. So in retrospect, it does look like the anchor lock was holding pretty well for this session. But the one thing I will stress is, being a stern mount motor, there is a little bit of a sway side to side because, again, the motor is holding place, but those kind of micro shifts in the current are kind of tilting the kayak side to side. So still will look into this, but overall it was holding me pretty steady. And while we're here, one thing I'll note is pretty much all these fish are being caught on either J&C jigs or bottom sweeper jigs. Link in the description to both of these particular hooks. Diesel Porgies. That's not a bad one. Probably like 13 inches. Definitely more tension on the cut crabs. Tog. Oh, no, Porgy. Big Porgy. Looked brown for a second. That's a nice one. That might be one of the biggest of the day. Let's see. 15. So yeah. Reposition on this structure. All right, certainly can come back to that spot, but I want to reposition just to see if, you know, if I fish this a little differently, a different angle, if I can get more quality fish. So one of the things I like about this motor and the spot lock is once you hit it and get into spot lock mode, like right now we're in spot lock mode, but I want to be over there, so I'm locked and I can just hit right and it'll slowly bring me over there. I can hit forward. It'll put me like a yard probably forward, and I can just inch to it. That way it's not like all or nothing. So it's a nifty little feature, and it'll let me know how far I am from wherever I'm going. So I'm just gonna get a little bit further. I want to just be able to drop right in front of this structure like I was before. I'm not gonna go crazy with where I'm fishing today just because it's getting a little nastier out and I don't want to be fighting tide going back to launch. But let's see if we can get maybe 1 or 2 more good fish. And that's a little bit. Let's go this way a little bit more. Right there. Let's see how this looks. Jeez Louise, man. That's a Porgy for sure. Very nice Porgy. Not 16, but easy 14 and a half, 15. So much fun. That's what it comes down to. That's a nice fish. Oh man. Oh man. Get out of there.
It's a tog, I bet.
Yeah, it's a tog. It's a legal one if it were in season, or just about. Another big porgy. That's a big one. That is a big one. I'll get a measure on. Let's take a look. It's very nice not having to worry about the pedals. It's not that, it's like 15 and a half. Very chunky. I guess for those of you that are here, not so much for the fishing, but how well the spot lock is performing, or the anchor lock rather. The big takeaway is, you know, with this being mounted on the stern instead of the bow, whatever force is acting upon you, I think it's ideal to have it behind you. So if the tide's the stronger force going in that direction, you want to be facing away from it, at least, or, you know, having it on your back. That'll make it easier to, you know, fish, especially if you're vertical jigging or something. If it's in your face, your boat's going to be spinning around a lot, but right now the wind I think is a little stronger than the tide. You know, it's nearing the end. It's going to be slack pretty soon, dead low. So the wind is basically pushing us, and the tide isn't really doing much. So with the wind on our back, we can kind of just hold this position pretty comfortably. So that's the one thing, you know, with the bow mount, you know, like I'd say while it is a chore to have it in front of you and have to work around it, the nice thing is, like, it'll always be pulling you. So if the wind is in your face, you can keep that going, I'd imagine, and you won't have to worry about like spinning around as much. Versus it being behind you, the steering might get a little wonky sometimes if you're not careful. But otherwise, you know, as long as you know how to maneuver it, and you should be okay. Gnarly looking Porgy right there. Oh, look at that guy. It's not the biggest, but it's got some cool colors. Black stripe, pink, purple. Very cool.
That's a better one. Stay out of there. Come on. Get out of there. Oh, it's a big porgy. Big porgy.
Maybe not, I don't know. A lot of 15 inchers. 15 and a half even, but not many 16s. Or no 16s. I think tide just might have switched to incoming. That's a big one. That's a nice one. That might be the biggest of the day. Yes. 15. It's kind of the ceiling for today. Barely got him too. Big porgy. Big porgy. That one should be over 15. That one's almost 16. Just shy of 16.
That is a big one.
That's maybe the biggest of the day. Jeez Louise, man. I might take this one. It's about 16 on the dot, just a little under 16. 15 3/4. Big fish, man.
Get out of there. Get out of there. Whatever you are, get out.
It's a nice big porgy. Big ones are on this side. Big porgy. Thanks. It's maybe not as big as the last one, but easy 15-incher. Well, now we have incoming tide. This side is like basically untapped, so let's just fish this for like a 20 or 30 minute stretch, see what we can pull out, and then probably start having to make moves out of here. Very impressed with this trolling motor though. It's definitely, you know, it's doing exactly what I needed to. And then, you know, like obviously I could link up to this structure if I needed to, but this makes it very clear to me just how well this thing can stick to something. Like it will wiggle a little bit, but you know, it's not hard to adjust it. And we're going through some pretty good current today too, so definitely feeling good about this. Said it a lot, but that might be the biggest one, at least the broadest one. It's very thick. It's only 15 and change. It's very, very thick. That's a Porgy cheese. strong fighting fish. Alright, last batch of crabs. I gotta get out of here soon, but having some really good fun, really fun action. Even into the tide. Another 14-ish fish. Jeez, was just dead sticking that while I was changing the battery. He was on there. Who knows how long that fish was on there. The big Porgy. Big Porgy. That's probably be the last fish of the day. All right, well, that was a fun session. We really got to test out the anchor lock and, you know, work that spot very thoroughly. And we got just boatloads of porgies. I only kept 4, but I'm pretty sure I hit at least close to a limit. I don't even know what a limit is, honestly, but I have no desire for it because I know it's like over 10 fish. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. That anchor lock really did hold pretty good, even in that ripping current. I even tested it, you know, as I was leaving the spot, just completely out of the structure. And, you know, it takes a second to find the spot, but it will pull you back to it and, you know, you'll hold it really well. So, yeah, this trip definitely got me excited for tog season. I would have probably tried some other spots today, but with the way the current was and just I wasn't sure how long I want to fish and what the weather was doing, I just decided to, you know, play it safe and just work that one spot because the other spots I was looking at were quite a bit in the other direction, and depending on what that tide was doing, it would have been quite a chore coming back. But otherwise, yeah, good first go back on the water. Didn't find the fluke, but I'm happy about it because honestly, next week I think I'm gonna be doing a lot more fluke fishing than anything else. So this was a nice little break, change of pace, I guess. So definitely looking forward to putting this thing to use as the season continues and catching more fish. So thanks as always for sticking with it. I'll catch you the next one. Goodbye from fishing.
Yeah, so definitely got like probably close to a limit of porgies, but only kept 4, and for good reason. I didn't want to have all this fish to do something with. And I found in the past that porgies don't necessarily freeze well, so I wanted to put these fillets to good use. So I decided the very next day to make porgy po' boys, which was a pretty interesting recipe. I've never tried this with any fish, let alone porgies, but I think porgies is a good fish for this because they have an innate oiliness to them, which adds to the flavor. So, and they're also pretty good fried. So it's a pretty straightforward recipe that I found online. I'll link it in the description. But you got to season the fish, and then basically, you know, you do it what you'd pretty much do with any fried fish. So you dredge it, You put it through some, flour/cornmeal mix and a variety of different spices. I made sure to cut up some tomato that was grown in our garden and cut up some lettuce that was not from our garden. Heat some oil, whatever high heat oil you've got, to about 350. And once you do that, just throw the fish inside and let it do its thing. I'd say probably about 2 to 3 minutes. You don't need super long. I apologize for how sloppy the bread looks. This was basically just what we can scrounge up in our freezer, but the sauce tasted great on it, and just slather that on there. And yeah, once we put it on there, it turned out really, really well. Put a little lemon juice on those fish once they're finished. After they dry off, get that oil off. Nice crispiness. Throw them on the bread, and yeah, after that, all you've got to do is assemble it and bite down, enjoy it. Now, yeah, I'm throwing some cheese on there because I know that's a divisive thing, but I have no problem with a little cheese on your fish sandwich, and looks delicious, or somewhat delicious, and tastes very good as well. So thanks for watching. Catch you later.